It's 1 minute after 10. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. I'd like the secretary to call the roll, please.
Chair Blake Miller,
Present.
Vice Chair Jeff Downs,
Here.
Treasurer Stephen Boone,
Here.
from the city of Homewood.
Here.
Berkeley. That's okay. All right. Which is the city of Trussville,
Here.
city of Pelham, here, city of Clanton,
Crossing.
city of Fultondale.
All right. Is that a quorum? Good?
Yes.
All right, so we will continue with our quorum. First item is the minutes. I believe all the members have seen a copy of the minutes from our last meeting, and I'll entertain the motion to accept the meeting or the minutes.
So moved.
So moved. Get a second. Second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Move on to our next item. Really, this is more of a general announcement. Thank everybody in the general public for coming. Appreciate that. The purpose of this meeting is really for the authority members, for the cities here represented, to discuss some of the issues that may be experiencing, to collaborate with each other, to act as a liaison between Amwaste and the municipalities themselves that are represented within the authority, and hopefully find some solutions for these issues that are being presented. As a reminder, while this meeting is open to the public, this is a business meeting for the Cahaba Solid Waste Disposal Authority. So only the members of the authority will be recognized. There are, however, did we get the forms? Okay. There will be forms in the back for the general public to fill out. These forms will be compiled, collected, distributed to each individual city that the complaint or the complaint or issue is for, and it would then be delivered to Amwaste as well. So you'll get a copy, Amwaste will get a copy of it, the city will have their own copies, and the city can distribute those forms. And we'll get those forms in the back. So if you have a question on that, get with me or Wendy, and we'll have the forms probably on the table in the back. Doesn't it? Okay. Looks like Wendy's working on that right now. We, along with the general or the elected officials, are hearing frustrations. I'll just go ahead and say that. We're hearing frustrations from the deficiencies in the collection service. We also understand the severity of the issues with frequently missed pickups. We acknowledge that this is not a level of service that is acceptable. I do want to be clear, though, that the mayors, the city council members, and the elected officials do have very little to do with these deficiencies. So I just want to make that clear. Moving to our regular agenda, update on the fuel cost savings program. We understand that the tank was placed a few weeks ago. This is something that we've been working on for quite a while. Have the fuel deliveries started yet?
They have not yet.
Okay.
We are currently waiting on the telematics to come in for both the reporting system along with usage. They're all in one program play.
Okay.
And so as soon as that is installed, we get cranked up with delivery of fuel and utilization of that tank and begin the cost savings program as it was laid out previously.
Do we have a projected timeline?
The tank was set in, as you mentioned, about 2.5 weeks ago, I believe. So they thought somewhere around 3 to 4 weeks to get the telematics delivered in.
Okay, so we're 2 weeks out?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good, thank you. Very good. Next item is an update for the removal of the Wednesday, Saturday pickup service. Just to kind of see how things are going. We're about 6 weeks in now. I started on March 25th. I had April 25th. I was wrong. March 25th. So just what we're hearing, let me go through with what we're hearing from that right now. We'll allow the rest of the members to kind of weigh in as well on how that affected them. I know we have 3 cities, Mount Brook, Pelham, and Hoover, that experienced that change. There were some modifications within some of the other cities perhaps, but since moving through, I know that we had a meeting with Amwaste on April 22nd, discuss what we're seeing with regards to missed pickups. At that time, there was significant reports. And we're seeing, since that meeting and in the last 2 weeks, we were still seeing significant amount of reports. So we discussed a couple of things, discussed putting tracking in each truck, every truck, even the rented trucks. And then also giving access to that third eye, and was Lytics software to a couple of the city members. At this point, I don't believe we've seen that yet. Okay, so.
You got the third eye, you need the lyrics.
That's right. Is there, and then we're talking about, and we'll get into that a little bit more in the meeting, but we also talked about installing technology with the tablets in the trucks. I think at that point we asked for you to come with some kind of timeline of what that would look like for installations. I don't know if you have that, to where you can kind of give us a timeline on when we can expect that technology.
Yeah, you want to speak to that, Brandon?
Yeah, so we're, I think we're looking at, this would be week 1 in Jewelries, past this week, having that in the trucks. The tablets should be here first of next week. The mounts sometime, build it into next week, but everything we order, it's a little longer on everything, what they tell us. So that's why I'm saying probably 3 weeks.
Okay. All right. Great.
Hoover will be the first that we,
Okay.
that those go.
Do you have a rollout schedule then for the other cities, just so they can understand what that looks like?
It's gonna go into your bigger trucks, not your pack max initially, as we go, but, you know, I have not put a schedule together past Hoover. I really want to get the Hoover trucks.
Okay.
So can you explain what this would change?
It would change that we would be able to see in real life, or fairly real life time, exactly where the driver is, what he's completed, what he hasn't.
It will include written status confirmation as far as the service level is concerned, whether it's confirmed service, not out, whatever the case may be, at the customer street level address.
So what would the cities have some kind of access to reporting, or would it simply be, right, how would that work?
I don't know that we would be able to get the city's access to be in the truck system itself, which is a server-based system, it's not a cloud-based system.
Right.
But we would be able to send out reports as paperwork and everything was closed the next day. Usually 10 or 11 a.m. the next day, everything was closed. We could send a report again.
So that quickly after completing the route, we would be able to see the actual
Yes.
movement of that route with results, basically.
Correct.
But you're basically just gonna see them moving through the route, you're not gonna know.
No,
No, this will be the customer level.
So somebody's gonna be clicking a button at every stop.
Correct.
I know on my street, in the last couple of weeks, there was a large number of homes that were skipped, and some that were picked up, which made absolutely no sense.
Yes, sir.
I don't know how they were, so that would look unusual in this system for them to click and
Right.
skip all these others.
Yes, sir, absolutely, and the other piece of this feed is that, it will also provide stop-by-stop navigation. So, yeah, the routing is already in stop sequencer. Yeah, without having that confirmation level in the equipment currently, we're making the assumption that the drivers are following it accordingly, right? This will allow us to see that status at the customer level. That will confirm whether or not we provide service for that.
So I think an advantage to that is that at the end of the day, when the driver thinks that they're done, they can quickly see if they've had any misses.
That's right.
You know after every day how many misses you have.
And that's speak to the issue we had yesterday with Trussville. So the drivers and the route managers were confirming neighborhoods that had been missed for several days had been picked up. Well, it got so frustrating, trying to handle it. We reached out to everybody that we possibly could, and y'all seen that it was an error.
Right.
It could have been prevented, it just didn't. So the device in the truck will help y'all correct, or could be corrected, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
You'll know about it.
It will give us visibility to any stop that does not have any control service on it. Be it a night out or a service provider.
So I
And
think,
it timestamps everything.
Okay.
So not only is it, if the car's not out, it timestamps when the driver was there.
sure. I think with our current system, one of the concerns that I have is that you don't know after every day how many misses you have.
Correct.
I mean, you're still relying on the driver to make a click at each stop, but you're at least having that confirmation. You've got documentation now that that driver has been to that house and has made a pickup.
Yes, sir.
So to me, I think that's an important piece. It helps us in tracking, and we can then take that data, we can get access to that the next day, compare that to the data that we're receiving from the C-clip fixes and reports that are coming in, and if there's something still not jiving, and that's an opportunity for us to further that conversation and see what's really going on, or to take issue with the driver, or take issue with routes, however those are laid out, whatever that is. But I think that's an important piece. Yeah, the sooner we can get out of the truck, the better we're gonna get. I really do.
In my statement, it wasn't a defense or anything, it was just, it wasn't a breakdown, truck, it wasn't anything except for, they didn't know their route. I mean, the route
Which
manager
I think,
didn't know.
I think is the other piece of, that we've talked about, like the opportunity for a new driver to have stop-by-stop navigation, certainly, part of the reasoning on our end, I think we talked about for the reroute to begin with, was to really better the quality of life for our folks. One, two was for us to try and improve our employee retention.
Right.
Still believe that it was the right decision, although we're going through some of the pains of it right now. I think the long-term solution was the correct one, in that, we've got to slow down our employee turnover. I mean, it creates safety and service issues for all of us. And so, certainly as we look at that, if and when we do have turnover, certainly we can take a trained driver, put them on a route that they may be unfamiliar with, and they ought to be able to go through the route, provide the appropriate service on the schedule service.
It seems like a lot of opportunities for false clicks, missed clicks, because the driver can do a lot of stuff, a lot of stops.
Absolutely.
Working like a cliff, so I'm not sure it's actually what you want. I guess it's what we try.
Yes, sir.
I have to believe it. At this point, we're at the frustration level to where we're looking for any and every step to help correct these deficiencies. And I think this will, we can at least try it at that point. If it doesn't help, it doesn't help. And then we try something different. But we've got to find a solution to these.
I think probably, as big an issue as that, in our data evaluation of the C-clip fix, we had we're just shy of 29,000 homes in the city of Hoover with twice a week collection, so 58,000 services a week. We had 563 that have generated over 50% of the missed service calls.
Okay.
And that's a problem, on our end, we've got to fix that. And so that has been our focus. 260, I don't know how many streets there are in the city of Hoover, but I've got to guess hundreds or thousands. 260 of those streets generated 68% of these calls.
Okay. So that narrows it down to specific drivers, specific routes.
Yes, sir.
And that's what we've been working on, is it's that specific. those are the areas we've got to be focused. And it's just pulling that data and making sure that's what we're at. And adding, I'll speak to, this is not an issue for Birmingham. We see this as an issue for the company. Jason is here, he's the vice president of Georgia. I've had district managers from Georgia the last 3 weeks alongside. We've had drivers, maintenance, help, both Georgia and Louisiana. This is a company all on board. We can fix this. But it is bringing the resources there to make that happen.
Let me ask you guys, Rick, I know you're not talking about this. We're kind of in the same boat, I think, as what Rick said with Hoover and Homewood. It seems to be the same area. It's not, to be honest with you, it's not really sporadic as much as it's consistent in the same area. It gets missed time and time again. So,
Yeah, same thing, we did the same evaluation,
Yeah.
out of Seagley Foods,
Yeah.
Berkeley and JJ. Yeah, very, very similar. There's a small percentage of the city that is generating, call it 70, 80, 90% of the issues. That's where our attention is. As we talked about last week, the focus of those areas and ensuring that we're providing a service, falls on our regulations.
So can I ask a question? So just, Pelham has enjoyed about a 99% pickup rate since we've gone live with you. And that as of 3/25, so when we changed the route, we've moved to about a 3.7% miss. So we've gone from 1 to 3.7. And I've got, we've got everything mapped out, but it seems like everyone else is also saying that 91% of our problems are happening in two routes.
Right.
So they're repeated though. So these residents and, naturally are very upset. And the communication has been such that sometimes the communication has been timely. So we had a mechanical issue on a truck. And so we're able to get that communication out. But when it gets into that second week of no collection for that route, I think what we need to do is somehow have you guys be able to shift or pivot so that we can get, if there's another breakdown on that route, how can we get somebody to come get that garbage that hasn't been collected? Because again, we can isolate it, we really know where our problems are happening.
Yes, ma'am.
We know the frequency of our issues. But that doesn't fix the fact that the repeat is there. So one of the things that, I know one of your goals in moving to eliminating the Saturday pickup was for better retention. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because are you seeing more mechanical issues? Are you seeing, has the elimination of the Saturday pickups helped with retention, helped with hiring?
And help with hiring, yes. Retention, we're still too early, 3 weeks.
Right.
Tell you that, really.
Right.
But to your point about the same areas, it's that way. My work will say the same story. Those are the places, and now we have put in a process where we're pulling the data out of the system. I have Mary working in a process that allows the route managers all to see it easier in the way we think about things in real time. And that way, and it's highlighted, it's automatically highlighted when she puts it in repeat.
Right.
If it's ever been in this list before, it's automatic. So that just helps make that right there immediately. Now we know.
So you're able to see immediately when there is the problem?
Right.
So rather than, because we got a notification, I'll give you an example last week, we got the notification that the streets on an X route had been missed, and we got the notification at 11 p.m. So, we, honestly, Andre didn't see it till the next morning, because, he was sleeping. But, I don't think most people would have gotten the notification.
Well, we don't see it we don't see it sort, other than it highlighted that, so we can now need to go back and find.
Yeah.
And that's the process we put in place to, you know, and we, that's what we're using, the extra people. Even our vice president of HR has been out following routes and problem areas, whatever we have to do to make sure that they stop it. Because those are the people that get the most, if you miss me Monday, you pick me up Thursday, and I don't have a problem again. I don't like it, but okay, like.
Right.
But you miss me Monday, Thursday,
Yes.
I don't blame them until we get them.
Yes. So how long have you had this new process in place?
Just this week. And
Okay.
we finally we got everything rolling the way we kind of wanted to flow. Tuesday, yesterday, it's really coming through right.
Are there any other cities that need to speak up?
Yeah, two big issues that seem to be probably are missing. This is our equipment failure and supervision. It seems like when the contract stipulates that we'll have dedicated field manager, no other responsibilities. It's our understanding, our impression that we don't have that. And on the days where our field manager is not in the city, it seems like our missing escalation. Or are you doing anything about trying to get more field managers? We've got better supervision,
Yeah,
more accountability.
we've hired one and we have an offer on to another, which, would put us plus one. Like, that would be one in every city plus one. So, yes, we just had one start on Monday. Yeah, one start. So, that will help that situation.
But the plan is to have a manager in each city. And what
Absolutely.
about PTO, or the backups for that?
So
That's the
everybody-
plus one.
Harrison is not
Yes.
assigned to a location, and then he's there for somebody's out.
And on the equipment side, I understand we're looking for some deliveries. How many trucks are you?
I picked up 2 in the last 4 days, and we just had one delivered today. So I'd say in the last month and a half, we've gotten 11 in, 10.
How many do you need? Do you know?
That's like extra to get us over,
Get it over
where we're at.
I've asked for an additional 4, that they're still Premier or big truck have 4.
So what happens too is if the truck goes down and we have to send it out to a third party or even our guys identify, but the issue is that we have to order the part. That part may be on back order. If we realize that part's on back order, then we're trying to bring trucks in to allow us a little bit of leeway time to get that truck back up. And that's really what's happening with our equipment issues. Is these are back order parts. These are just parts that we can't get in. I tell you, we've got one that's been down for part issues for 15 or 16 months. And it's just due to we can't get the parts in, the specific parts that are needed to get the truck up. And there's, I think the last one was a line components or something. That's why we're bringing trucks in. It's not because we don't have enough trucks or we have old used up equipment. Our equipment is 3 years or under. On average, I would say it's under 2.5 years is kind of where we're at. So that's not really the issue. So when we're talking about that as well, I think we talked about in our meeting just going to a 3-shift maintenance crew instead of a traditional 2-shift. We're currently there. We're 14. I think at one time we were around 8, 9, or whatever. We're at 14 technicians with a working supervisor on each shift and a maintenance manager. There's been some personnel changes within that supervisory role that we've had, and with the addition of the technicians and those working supervisors, that's going to pay off in the long run for us as well from from just the general daily maintenance. Again, the trucks that are down, you know, what we call hard down, we know they're gonna be down for a significant amount of time, is due to us having backward parts. And to speak to, you know, Jason and Helen being here from corporate, we also have the vice president of maintenance, who's housing in Birmingham as well, to assist us. So when Brandon says it's all hands on deck, we have pretty much everybody here.
And we don't have these, this is specific to Birmingham right now, we don't have these issues. We know how to do this, but it is gonna take some time. And when he talks about 14 techs, that's 14 that are Birmingham techs.
Yes.
I've had 2 from Georgia the last couple of weeks, I've got one from Louisiana this week. And these are our top techs, these aren't guys that just change tires, these are some of the best technicians we have in the company that we're building.
Are y'all struggling between the trucks and breaking down? Is it more of the pack units or the big units?
It is both. The pac-man units are just, that's a whole different beast as
Yeah.
far as, just the functionality of
Yeah.
why they're going down compared to the bigger trucks.
Yeah.
So, to speak to that, to the pac-man,
Yeah.
we've got one that was sitting on a low board, at our yard. I don't know if it come off yet, when I left him this week, this morning. They had it here for delivery, so.
It sounds like when the truck goes down, we're done for the day. We don't have a backup to come in and finish the route on that day that we have failed.
Well, it just depends on the day. I mean, some days, that could be the case, but other days, that is not the case. Again, the big truck issue, it's whether we can get the parts or not.
Well, I understand when the truck goes down, it goes
Yeah.
down, but that doesn't.
Well, that's why we
people
bring,
get missed.
again, that's why we
That's
brought
why I
in
asked for another 4.
yeah, the rental trucks is to alleviate that situation, because sometimes there's trucks, we may have 3 go down, they get diagnosed and they go to order the parts, and all 3 of those trucks, we know at a minimum are gonna be up for 3 or 4 weeks, just because we're not even getting that part in, for 3 or 4 weeks. You know, diagnosis and us working on the trucks is not really the issue. The issue always lies in us being able to get parts. And that's just been an issue, I'd say, for the last 30 years since COVID.
How many trucks are you looking at right now that would fall into that dead category where you're just waiting on back order parts?
So I'll tell you right now, big trucks, we have 39 routes. And right now I have 54 units on the ground. After the big lift.
That are running?
No, I have 54 units who fill 39 rounds. You go ask anybody in the waste space, if I give you 54 units, run 39 rounds, they're gonna tell you that's way more than enough trucks in some. And we, you know, it is parts, there's a process piece we've got to get caught up on. But I'm just telling you, we will do what it takes from the equipment side.
How many of the 54 are not in operation?
This morning we had 41 to run routes with.
So you have 13 days.
And we've had as many as 16 now in the last week.
I know like last week, we had 2 in a day. And Homewood go down.
Well, and that's, we were running 3 or 4 breakdowns a day, and then we've had a couple of days where we spiked, we've had as many as 10. And so it's, those days, 3 or 4 go down, we can recover those days. You'll never see that, you don't see that blip.
Right.
When you have 10 go down,
So-
that's what you see.
So my confusion then would be, you've got 39 routes, you've got 41 vehicles to cover those routes, but we're still missing. So how do we correct that?
That piece is the supervisor in the field on those 260 street lane. We gotta stop the repeats.
Those are not maintenance issues, those are personnel.
That's not maintenance issues,
Right.
that's personnel.
Right, because you've got the equipment
Right.
available to you to make those and complete
Those
those.
are personnel issues, those aren't.
We have
So-
good personnel changes.
So to Mr. Boone's point, if a truck goes down in the middle of a route, and you still have other trucks that are available to go and complete that route.
We're not seeing that.
Right. And that, some of that becomes our field level leadership. We've got to steer the traffic in the right direction. And it's got to be open communication internally for us to ensure that we provide that support if or when that takes place.
Rick, is there a way, when, just say, like the other day, it's 3 o'clock, 2 trucks go down, you're at 41, you got 39 routes. Is there a way that you guys can communicate to the city, hey, we're gonna get this, or we're not? I think the biggest issue, I know, we have, and I think kind of to Gretchen's point, I think that one of the big issues that we're all maybe kind of overlooking a little bit is the communication part of when these things happen. How can we better inform the community? All right, they're not going to get you till in the morning, and
Or later.
or later later this evening. Just leave it out and they'll get it. I think one of the issues we got is if there's not enough trucks. I understand. Look, we deal with that every day. I mean, I've got 2 clamshells that waiting on parts for 9 weeks now. But I think that the thing that I like Steve said, that we're kind of interested in is we want it all to stop. I mean, 99% Gretchen is getting, I don't know what y'all helping her out so much for, and the rest of them are getting bombarded here. But I think for all of us, it's working with you to get a plan that if this happens and we're still, you have that day that there's 8 or 9 trucks that go down, when now we've gone below the Mendoza line, where are we at to get something communicative wise that takes us and the constituents know what's going on? And I don't know that there's a
No, we
button to push, but
we can make that happen. We have an afternoon call with the route managers.
yeah.
And even going into that now, we have more updates than the 2 that we used to have. And my apologies, I thought that was happening better. So I'll make sure I'm copied on that, and we'll make sure Paul and I both make sure the communication goes
'Cause I mean,
earlier than
I'll say this.
6, 7, and 9.
The preference is to get it picked up that day,
Oh, yeah.
because that's what the contract states, and that's what we do and want you guys to do. But if there comes that instance that hopefully it's not very often, that it may have to be that next morning, it would be nice to have some form of way of communication that when we get or when the C-click fixes come through, somebody from Amwaste is responding, hey, we've had a situation, we will be there starting at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we will get called back up. I think the biggest thing and JJ may have a little different, but it's the communicative part of this that I think we're all kind of missing a little bit of. And I think it would help, because I mean, being a resident in one and serving in the other, you kind of see both ends of the spectrum. And so that's something I think that I would love for us to be able to work with you to help each city out in getting that communicative level going at a little bit more consistent basis than what we currently have.
We'll get that addressed.
So,
And I totally agree. The communication piece is gonna be very beneficial, but communication without follow-up,
Sure.
it means nothing. And all that does is add to the frustration level to our residents. And I mean, they're beyond frustrated at this point, because the ones that are getting missed are getting repeat missed, and it's been more and more and more consistently missed instead of consistently picked up. So I think that's where we've got to have that shift. Communication is great, but communication without follow-up is meaningless. So we've got to get that straightened out, for sure.
We really need to get to them before they get to us. That's what
Right.
we get from the council members of the residents, and they seem like really comfortable with it.
Right, right.
And that's what Trussville experimented with just this week. We knew we had this pickup, and the update let's post this from the mayor's office, expect that you're gonna be a day behind the rest of this week until Saturday. Now, the issue did become that we were being told by field managers it was recovered, and it wasn't. That's why we had to reach out to you yesterday, which was, as you said, a personnel issue. But if we're missing a lot, I can't see me as a public works guy sending the mayor's office missed pickups to post on our Facebook page or whatever every day or weekly, because that eventually will get out of hand on Facebook, the frustration will grow. So Amwaste could help with that communication instead of it coming from the mayor's Facebook page, or the city's Facebook page. I don't think that's a good idea that any day out either.
And the Saturdays, catch-up days, see, we're still doing Saturday catch-up.
So, we'll continue to do it. So
That, any miss during the week, get picked up on the Saturday, or, I mean, you're not.
No, it should be anything that we fall due on Friday, so,
But if you still got misses from the Thursday or the Tuesday.
those shouldn't happen, but if they do, absolutely. Like I said, at worst, it should be anything that's called in, you know, really past a certain point on Friday that we would get, on Saturday.
What I heard is you have a new process that you just started this week. It's gonna result, it should result in better communication to us and less frequency of the double misses. So I appreciate your honesty in that, so you went and looked at it, you just started that new process this week, so we can expect to see, some improvement. And if we don't, we obviously need to let you know and talk about it. I have a couple of other questions about, and it's not a trend by any means, but we would like to get those taken care of before they start. We've recently gotten some, parts delivery, delays. Are you okay with parts, or okay?
Yeah, we got some part of done.
Just got another order.
We just got a load, we did get behind, that load did not get in. You know, so we got behind waiting on that load to come in.
So maybe that's what we've seen, but maybe how the load just came in, so we're gonna go
Yeah,
ahead and
they need a load, we need a load. Yeah.
But it was a full load.
Yeah.
And we immediately ordered another load on top of that. Just because it took so long to get this load processed, we went ahead and ordered another load.
And to give you an idea, that's about 740 cars,
Okay.
brand new.
So, no, my other question is about the hydraulic leaks. Do you have a policy that we can, you know, we have a lot of hydraulic fluid leaks, you know, in like the Ballantrae area where the trucks are going up a massive hill. I imagine there's something, I don't know the mechanics of the trucks, but, so when either we see it or when a resident complains, you know, is there a policy or procedure that you have that we can share so we know what to expect?
So we do preventative maintenance, which they're on a schedule, and those trucks should be looked at. All the fittings, cylinders, we're checking out different items of the trucks, because those are what's going to leak anyway, so those should be identified. If they're identified, they should be repaired. Now, I will say, I mean, there are going to be times where a fitting breaks and we do spill hydraulic fluid onto the street. We'll immediately clean it the best we can. But it is an oil-based product, asphalt, the asphalt's going to absorb it quickly. And there have been some, even in Ballantrae, I mean, Vestavia, we've been in Liberty Park, we have an issue, and we'll go out there, we've been out there as many times as 2 or 3 times, I guess, just to try to get that stain.
Yeah.
But the stain is typically not gonna come up, you're gonna get that surface layer off, that oil is already absorbed into the asphalt. But any leak that's identified should be getting fixed, whether it be a fitting or a one cylinder that's leaking hydraulic fluid.
So when you come, what do you put on top of it?
It's typically just like a soap and water.
Okay.
The immediate would be the wall, right, to take the initial layer, that should be spread, and some absorbent, and then, we'll come back through, with a third-party company that does the pressure washing for us.
Is there something that you could give us, like hydraulic oil leaks happen, here's what they are, here's how we prevent it when they happen, here's what we do, that like this, just something that we could share with our customers to say, you know, that we look like we know more about what we're talking about.
Sure.
I think that would be helpful.
It's not like the expectations should be that we're not gonna keep the same. I think people have a perception that if I come clean it, it's gonna be gone.
Yes.
It sounds like it's not gonna be.
Asphalt's probably 70% petroleum based on itself. Obviously, as it weathers, it lightens up. Taking a look at fresh asphalt down versus
Right.
weathered is significantly different. When an oil-based product, falls onto it, and it absorbs it, it essentially is restaining as it was in its initial layer. That's why it comes, such a dark color.
That's interesting. I mean, and by no means is Amwaste the only entity that's putting oil-based products on our streets. I mean, it's just a common.
I mean, I'll just give you the Vestavia Hills perspective. I think we're best comparable to Pelham and Pelham's experience, and we were to the point where we measure it intently, and we were at a 99% success rate. We were running at about, before this recent change, we were running about maybe 10 to 15 misses a week. And we have a different system than everybody else has as far as our customer complaints and so forth, and we have immediate communication back to the household. We've worked with our route manager who does that for us, and so we're having immediate communication. 1st of March, I knew it was going to happen because when you change people are the main issue. And so we had 20% of our addresses that changed their route dates because of this change. I knew on day one that 20% there were going to be issues because there's new people running these routes, new drivers running those routes. So we were prepared, and it jumped up probably 2 to 3 times what the normal complaint. But every week it's gotten better. And every week we work with Amwaste to try to find those routes, those areas, and try to reinforce those. And so there's I think to me, it's there's some mechanical issues you gotta address. We had one last night, up on Shades Crest Road, and we got the email from our route guy at 4:45, and we had that list, and we spread it to our 5 employees who are managing these different things, and they're aware, so they can respond and say, hey, it's gonna be taken care of. But the main thing for us is, we know when a supervisor has left the organization, or there's a change in the driver, or a driver is sick, or in this case, 20% of our routes changed because of this whole shifting, and it has gotten better every week. And I think from our perspective, we don't minimize anything. One miss is bad, we're gonna take it serious. But from our perspective, we just work to communicate on our team and with Amwaste, and we have seen resolution as we've identified the issues. And our most recent issues were really in that 20% group where we support everybody here, but I wish we didn't have to have changed that 20%, but we did, and we're working. So that's just our perspective.
Well, I can assure you that Mountain Brook is working with Amwaste as well, and we're not getting those kind of improvements.
And
That's where the frustration comes from.
And I think it also, to me, boils down to, we have seen particular route supervisors who are better than others. And we want to keep the good ones. We're selfish.
Yes.
But,
We'll arm wrestle.
okay, I'm with you. And I've heard you say it too before, Chris.
Mr. Armstead,
Right, so, City of Hoover, got a long list of things I want to run through, but I want you guys to know, I appreciate you guys, but this is all business. So please take this next few minutes as we got to fix it. I wish I could say what Jeff and Gretchen are saying, because I've been here 6 months, and clearly looking at our numbers from when Homewood came in as the number of units being served at Homewood, everything here changed and really peaked at the holidays. Y'all know that. But since March 25th, I mean, we're currently over 2,700. I don't even know what it is now because I'm missing 3 days. So that is just not acceptable. Y'all at least have identified where the problems are, where the streets are, what drivers, what route managers are making some changes. So we appreciate that. I think the pads and the technology is a step. We need the Linux and the third eye in every truck, because I see the trucks that are rental trucks. I see those. So let me start with the fact that the frustrating part is it's not, even now 5 weeks into the change, it's still at 400 misses a week reported. And when we go meeting by meeting, the reported is the problem, because we're trying to kind of just let the citizens not be in their face all the time, but we're telling them, you got to report it. Okay, that's the only way it'll help any of us. So we're trying to do that. So a couple of thoughts are, first, I want to jump to the political one, is that, clearly Homewood has signs. I've seen the pictures of the signs. I haven't seen any in Hoover, but man, I know they're ready, because their comments have become political. Back to what Blake said, where they want to say the mayor and the council, we're going to hold this, we're going to hold you accountable and all that. And they really have nothing to do with it. Because the good thing is, I can tell them, and our staff can tell them, you're missing council members too. So they're as frustrated as everybody. But what it's led to is, if we can't fix it, what are we going to do? And as you guys know in our conversations, I really don't want to be in the trash business, but we got to serve the citizens. I just left the golf tournament, and I'm walking a few holes just to see the mayor hit the ball, and I'm looking at trash cans, making sure they're picked up, because the complaints have turned into, if they're missed for long enough, the squirrels and the raccoons and the rodents are showing. So we got to that level where it's what the Jefferson County had with the lady out in the woods, with the raccoons. I don't want that. I want to get to where we're at least getting it once a week, but for twice a week service. The second thing is, we've lost the confidence. So I'm saying this so your folks from corporate can hear that as well. When Paul and I served on a recycling panel recently, it's hard to explain what we're trying to do in the second pickup if there's not even a first pickup. So to get to a second pickup, we're losing the confidence of recycling quickly. And clearly, these cities have a resident base that want to recycle. So that's another problem we haven't talked about, but for a future meeting, we've got to really figure out, when we get all this set, how do we build that confidence back on recycling? And I do believe the Repower South deliveries and however else y'all want to handle that, I think it's a great situation, but right now, we got to rebuild that back. Doesn't matter if there's not 2 pickups a week. You can't explain it because nobody's getting it. One of the things that's been a problem for us, much like you said in Homewood, is if we get feedback, because the problem is, and you guys are right there with us, as managers, you're right there with us, but through the city clerk's office, so many situations where y'all are telling us what your people are telling you, and then they don't show up that day or the next day. So that's one of those, we got to figure that out, and that's really y'all, because you don't want to tell us they're going to go, hey, we'll get it today, we're coming, and then they don't show up, because now more confidence is lost. So these are just some of the things laying it down before the statistics. But the thing about, and then we covered the hydraulic leaks. I think I try to summarize it, and I said this the other night in the council meeting, that you guys are a logistical company. So what you're telling us about maintenance problems to every one of these city representatives, man, you could say it until you're blue in the face, but Amazon has the same problem, and UPS has the same problem. So they're delivering. Somehow the package is getting there. And so in our case, we just got to get the packages out of the can. So it sounds like you don't have enough trucks that you can keep in service. And clearly the rental trucks are used up in the area, because because you've got those. So it's created the dilemma that we're really familiar just because of buying the Alabaster truck. So trying to figure out how to help you guys to service the neighborhoods or streets that we can at least get where they say I haven't been serviced in a week. And clearly identifying that one. So I want you to see that we are your partner, but we're very frustrated. And, you know, I don't want it to become divorce proceedings because I'm a new, I'm just trying to get into it. I think the hard part on the statistics is what you said is for Hoover. If we can do those things with the technology and you can internally solve who's not providing that level. Because we talked about you trying to incentivize and de-incentivize. There are different things you're trying to do. But that's different for every culture, and you've got that with your employee turnover. So for you, just like us, that's a challenge. We all have the same challenges if we think about certain roles in our jobs with, you know, law enforcement in the future, whatever it may be. So that's a challenge. So I think part of it is I feel good that we know where the problems are, and I feel like what you said is accurate. We just got to fix it. Because at least by now, I'd love to get back to under 200 a week. I mean, that'd be great. Just because that's still a lot, because we know people are telling us they're not reporting. And we've got to put the push out to get more reports, because the way the contracts and things are set up, and I think that's an item here for that, is if people don't report, everybody's in the dark. And maybe your new system will help us say, yes, cans were there and they were serviced. I think really the last thing is just sort of going into summer. We're about to see another change as how in the next week or two, as schools kind of get out and how people are at home more. So trash is going to round back up, even though there's some travel mixed in, but now they're home more, so there's probably more trash. So please, just help us with these situations. And I know we have a predominant issue because of the sheer number and the twice a week service. But all those confidences we've got to get to, because the elected officials here are truly frustrated and really starting to look at what options do we have. And I really don't want to break out and do that. But this is the place to say it as part of the authority. So y'all may have some response to that, guys.
Totally understood, and don't blame.
I mean, the crazy part, when you start seeing the signs, I mean, of all the things to create a sign for, it shouldn't be trash, other than don't litter. So, and I do agree with Gretchen, there are a lot of backdoor missed pickups where if we know a truck there, you know, it would make a huge deal if that driver jumped out, he knew he made that leak and threw that oil dry right there and just at least tried to fix something in the driveways. But I don't know that level. I don't know if that's your policy and that's how to do it.
Yeah. So I think, you know, a couple of points, and so certainly, you know, appreciate the partnership, good question. And we fully understand, I think, Brandon's point of the level of all hands on deck that we've got to get these issues resolved. We don't want you to have to work on it. We will fix these problems, so be sure about it. We understand we've got a level of confidence that we've got to regain with you all, which in turn regains the level of confidence with customer constituents for the municipality. And you know, there's no reason why we shouldn't have the same service levels in Hoover or Mountain Brook, Homewood, that we're experiencing in Vestavia, Pelham, Clanton. Just no reason for us to not. I think to Brandon's point, we certainly understand what we're doing in the business. We just got the problems we need to fix, and that's why we're all hands on that.
I will say this, because of the Alabaster truck purchase that we now have Hoover logos on. So officially yesterday it has Hoover logos, so people don't say, why is Alabaster servicing our city? But thanks to Alabaster for selling us that surplus truck and then having the small pipe mag truck that we have, we do want to talk more offline when this meeting's over as to how can we support you for the next several weeks till you get all of this corrected and we see the results through the numbers. And Jason's here, our public works director, to try to guide, because for us, we need to know that we're not overlapping. And there may be some quick solutions. You say, you know what, run your truck here, do this, because we're going to be running. So we might as well do what we can to help you where we know we can fix certain things to lower your numbers. So I do say that because we're all in right now until you see your level drop back to something that's more acceptable. And then obviously the pressure valve releases and the citizens are just happier with each other. So
To close out that topic, I will say that I do appreciate the ownership that you're taking in this. I appreciate your commitment to resolving this issue. From where we sit, we just need to see that happen. Yeah, so results speak for themselves. So we just want to see it happen. But I do appreciate you taking ownership of that. That goes a long way in my book. So thank you for that. Moving on to the public outreach piece, we've already talked about this a little bit. Thank you, Mrs. Conte, for that. But one thing that we had kind of talked about in some of the Hoover meetings is putting together some kind of educational video for correct trash placement, can placement, and brainstorming some other ideas on what other educational information that we could share. The intent of those videos would be so that the cities could then share that on their social media sites as well as their websites, and that way just kind of get out a uniform message on what needs to be corrected, just a general reminder from the public standpoint. Some other things that I thought we could kind of address with that. Backdoor service card placement. I know we've had some issues in the city about backdoor services being behind fences and having one on one side of the house, one on the other side of the house, and just cans being all over the place. So all that could be addressed and consolidated into one spot behind the house, or backdoor service. If we could address some of that in those videos, I think that would go a long way. The other piece is the recycling process. Just as a reminder on that one, Paul, I think we had kind of talked about some of that with our state of recycling in Alabama meeting that we had back in April. There's still some confusion about commingled trash and how all that's recycling is being taken care of. We had one report of an air tag being placed in the recycle bin, and an air tag ending up in the landfill. So just, those are just some of the things that we're experiencing. So,
I would include car separation too. I see a lot of cars that are running together, and that's gotta be a problem.
breaking down boxes, all of that is going to help.
Yeah, we have a video we're working with, Pelham is working on with our company that we use LNG to do some of this. And it's kind of around help your garbage man, and it's around that, but I had not thought about the backboard piece. And I think that would be a good,
Yeah.
Part of that challenge is if it's behind that privacy fence and there's barking dogs, if I'm a driver, I'm not going back there.
well, and we run into somewhere, we get to the can's empty, and, well, I put the bags over here.
Right.
Well, the driver's automatically, he's going through the can, that's sure.
And the drivers don't need to spend 15 minutes looking for a trash can at each location. And 15 minutes that's an exaggeration,
Yeah.
understand that. But, to that scale, we don't need to do that. What kind of time frame can we look at and expect to see those videos be put together for us? 3 weeks, okay.
30 days or most.
30 days, okay.
So maybe June 1, we could roll something out. Okay, good assessment.
June 8th, safe side, but
June 8th.
we'll let you know
First week
the
of
month.
Very good. We'll look for those stuff. I do think there's value in that from the customer side, and hopefully from your side as well. Hopefully that will cut down some of your challenging sites that are out there. Any other topics that need to be included on that? Very good. Last piece that we had, moving on to public outreach, is an amendment to the contract, something that we're looking at. We haven't put our heads together exactly on what this looks like, but looking at an amendment particularly to the penalty section. Again, this is the frustration side that we're receiving, that we're getting. The way the contract was written, the burden is on the city to collect that data. So there's a structure that's laid out in the contract, and the burden is on the city to find that data and try to prove that data So what we're looking at, and this is just, it's a baby idea at this point, but we're looking at changing some of that structure. And hopefully we'll have a votable, or an action item maybe next meeting that we can present. But we can be in conversation throughout that time period until we have that in front of the parliament. So that's just something that we're looking at and try to make it a little bit easier for all parties, because I'll say it from Wendy's mouth, it's a burden looking at it and trying to put all that information together and really trying to keep everybody accountable for what. Yeah.
The only comment I would have about that is we have imposed fines on our invoices. It's very depth until it's recent. Invoices come through, they continue to have a balance forward for the paid card. Be nice if at some point they got written on. I mean, you carry the balance that's on there. Sure, it's going to a lockbox, somebody's going to a lockbox, I'm sure nobody cleared the record, but probably got some outstanding receivables that aren't going to get paid.
We can take care of that.
Are there any other comments that need to be made from, Wendy, did you have any comments or? No, you're good, okay. Any other comments from the authority members?
I would just like to recommend that we go ahead and plan a meeting maybe for 30 days from now, because while we're going through all of these changes, and especially as we get into the summer months, which we all know, uncollected garbage in the summer months is a whole different ballgame, but you're implementing a lot of changes, you're going to provide us with some additional resources, so I just think it would probably be beneficial for us to get together with one and just continue to let's evaluate where we are.
And in that front also, would like to, if there were recommended changes to the amendment of the contract, get them timely, well before the meeting time, so they can be evaluated. As a board member, I like to have an agenda at least a week before the meeting, and any recommendations at least a week before the meeting, so I can, understand what I'm walking into, or if there needs to be collaboration with a subcommittee like we've done in the past, rather than just waiting on a subset of the group coming in.
Sure. Absolutely. All right, we'll plan on having a meeting in 30 days then. We'll go ahead and start getting dates together, and maybe 31, 29, whatever, in that time frame. All right. If there are any other comments, we'll adjourn. Thank you for your time.
I gotta get on that job. Hey, how are you? Good.